Well, what do the two of you have to say for yourselves? Mrs. Chisholm asked, her tone dripping with frustration. Her two children, Alex, aged 9, and Emily, aged 11, stood before her. It had been one of those days, the kind where their constant bickering seemed endless. Summer had just begun, but the weather, like their behavior, had taken a turn for the worse in the past few days. With the family car in the shop for a week, they were stuck at home, and boredom had only worsened their fighting. For the past 2 days, they seemed to go out of their way to annoy each other, and in the process, drove their mother crazy. In Mrs. Chisholm's eyes, Alex was the bigger problem. He reminded her too much of his father, a man who had abandoned the family when Alex was only 18 months old, claiming he wasn't fit to be a parent. That still stung, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Alex had inherited his father's weaknesses. Physically and mentally, he lacked drive and discipline. Alex didn't care for sports, or anything else she deemed boyish, and he gave up the moment things got difficult. If he wanted to thrive in the world, she knew he needed to be tougher. She grudgingly acknowledged that he had some talent with computers and an artistic streak, but he lacked the focus to turn those into anything meaningful. Emily, on the other hand, was the opposite. She was ambitious, adventurous, and had her mother's tenacity. She had no doubt Alex had provoked her, and she wasn't about to let him get away with it any longer. "Alex, I've had enough," Mrs. Chisholm continued. "For the rest of the day, you will do whatever your sister asks, no arguments. She's older and more responsible than you, and I've got things to do." She lectured for another 5 minutes, then sent the children to their rooms, hoping for a bit of peace. Emily sat quietly, listening as her mother vented. She knew it was partly her fault, but Alex could be so childish. She had taken his Game Boy, after all. He spent too much time on it anyway, and she was bored. The rain and lack of a car meant no trips to see her friends, and Alex was no fun. He didn't want to do anything and was such a pushover. When he demanded the Game Boy back, she had told him he could have it if he could pry it from her hands. He couldn't, of course. She easily held him off with one hand, watching him struggle. After a while, she pushed him away, and he bumped into the desk. The little crybaby started sobbing, threatening to tell their mother. She had warned him that if he did, he'd have something real to cry about. That set off the yelling between them. When Mrs. Chisholm came upstairs, she didn't even bother asking what had happened. Alex was in trouble, and Emily couldn't help but smile to herself. It was getting too easy to get him into trouble. The moment their mother told Alex that he had to do whatever Emily said, Emily felt a thrill of excitement. This would be fun. "But Mom," Emily said, "it wasn't all Alex's fault. I'm just as much to blame." Mrs. Chisholm smiled at her daughter's honest admission, then reinforced Emily's authority over Alex. Emily kept a neutral expression, but her mind was already racing with ideas. Alex, on the other hand, looked completely stunned. Emily couldn't help but think how pathetic he looked. As they climbed the stairs, she apologized to him, offering her sympathy in a teasing tone. "Come on, little brother," she said sweetly. "Everything will be fine. Let's hang out in my room." Alex brightened at the invitation. It was rare for Emily to allow him in her room. Usually, he wasn't even allowed near her door. "Okay, that sounds great," he said quietly, unsure if the offer would be withdrawn as quickly as it was made. "So, little brother, what should we do?" Emily asked. "I don't know," Alex replied. "Do you have any ideas?" Emily certainly had ideas. But she needed to play it smart to get Alex on board, no matter what their mother had said. "Let's play a game of pretend," Emily suggested with a mischievous grin. "How about a superhero rescue?" "That sounds great. I want to be the superhero," Alex said eagerly. He was a little surprised that Emily wanted to play a game like this. Normally, she'd dismiss it as childish. "Oh, no. This is my game," Emily replied quickly. "I'll be the superhero, and you'll be the one I save." "What do you mean?" Alex asked, his excitement fading. Emily grinned confidently. It's simple, I'm the superhero, and you get to be the one in need of rescuing. What's a damsel in distress? Alex asked, already sensing trouble. It means, little brother, that I'm the hero, and you're the one I'm going to save, Emily said matter-of-factly. Now, let's get you ready. Ready? Alex asked, confused. Yes, ready. You need to get dressed up so I can rescue you, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Let me see what I've got for you to wear. Alex didn't say anything, simply staring at Emily, unsure of what was coming. Emily opened her wardrobe, filled with clothes she no longer wore, dresses, skirts, old sports uniforms, dance costumes, and fantasy outfits. She turned and looked at Alex, who seemed terrified. Oh, this is going to be fun, she thought, feeling a sense of amusement. My very own live dress-up doll. She scanned the wardrobe and spotted a pink party dress with a white sash, embroidered bodice, and little white bows around the neckline. I think I've found the perfect outfit, she said, pulling the dress from the closet. I can't wear that, Alex exclaimed. And you can't make me. Alex, you know what Mum said, Emily replied. You have to do whatever I say. Anyway, it's just pretend. You're not going to wear it outside or anything. But only girls wear dresses, Alex whined. And I'm not a girl. No, you're not, Emily replied with a smirk. But you sure act like one sometimes. Don't be such a baby. It's just for fun. Alex crossed his arms, refusing to move. Emily opened her bedroom door and yelled down the hall, Mom, Alex isn't doing what he's supposed to. If I have to come up there, you'll be in more trouble than you can handle, came Mrs. Chisholm's voice from downstairs. Now, do what your sister says. Emily smiled triumphantly as she turned back to Alex. See? Mom will be mad if you don't do what I say. Alex lowered his head, then raised it again with a resigned look on his face. He knew he was in trouble either way, so this seemed like the lesser of two evils. All right, what do I have to do? He asked, defeated. Excellent! Emily exclaimed. Just turn around while I get the rest of the things. Other things? Alex thought, confused. Before he knew it, he heard Emily rummaging through her drawers. Oh, yes, and these. No, wrong color, this will match his eyes. Okay, turn around and take your clothes off, she commanded. What, here? Alex asked nervously. Don't be silly, it's not like I haven't seen you without clothes before, Emily replied. But I was just a baby then. Alex protested. Shut up and strip, or I'll call Mom. Emily snapped. Alex reluctantly complied, feeling awkward and embarrassed. Emily thought to herself, he's so small, he's going to look adorable. She kept a straight face, carefully avoiding any sign of amusement at his discomfort. Once Alex was undressed, she had him put on white lace panties with ruffles and little pink bows. Then she added a white slip with satin trim, followed by a couple of petticoats. Why do I have to wear these? Alex protested. It's simple, the dress won't sit right without them, Emily said as she dismissed his complaint. Arms up. Alex raised his arms, and Emily pulled the dress over his head and arms. You can lower your arms now, she said with a smirk. Alex did as instructed, and the dress draped over him. It felt strange, and Emily hummed as she carefully arranged the skirt over the petticoats. There, that should do it, she said, pleased with her work. Is that it? Alex asked, hopeful. Not yet. Sit on the bed so I can put on your shoes and socks, Emily instructed. Hold the dress out like this. She grabbed the sides of the dress and spread them out to avoid wrinkling it when he sat. Alex did as she asked, and the dress settled gently over his legs and the bed. Good job, Emily said, a little surprised that Alex had followed instructions so well. That's a good girl, she added with a small smile. Alex glared at her, the girl comment not going unnoticed. Emily quickly placed a pair of socks with a ruffled top on his feet, followed by a pair of white Mary Janes. Stand up, sweetie, she was now starting to treat him like a little girl, and let Mummy have a look at you. Alex glared at her but said nothing. Oh, don't be so sensitive, I am only teasing you, I am far too young to be your mummy. Why don't I just be your big sister? What do you say, sis? I thought you were going to be superhero, said Alex. I changed my mind, said Emily, I would prefer playing pretend. Sisters, what do you think? You are after all dressed for it. She said as the smile broadened on her face. Alex said nothing, he knew he was caught, and no matter what he said, Emily would do whatever she wanted, so he might as well go along with it. Okay then, sis, I will take that as a yes. Now let's do something with that hair of yours. Over to the vanity, little sister. Alex had long dark hair that came down to his shoulders. He liked it long, thought it made him look tough. Well, today it made him look something else. Emily quickly set to work brushing his hair back from his face. Oh, you have such beautiful hair, little sis. How would you like big sister to do it for you today? Alex just started blankly back at her. Don't answer that, let big sister surprise you. She grabbed his shoulders and put her face next to his. Staring into the mirror, she smiled at him and gave him a squeeze. Alex just stared blankly back at the little girl in the pink party dress. The petticoats felt soft against his legs while the bodice caressed his chest. He felt warm and scared all at the same time. Emily stood up and began to arrange Alex's hair. She parted it down the middle and brushed each side into two bunches behind his ears. She then skillfully secured them into two pigtails. She then brushed out both pigtails, putting a little curl in each. Next, she took two white ribbons and tied bows around each pigtail. Then she used some hair slides to secure the sides, white with little pink flowers, and under each pigtail, white. Finally, some work on the fringe, and her little sister was ready for the party. Alex looked back at the reflection in the mirror. The little girl staring back was pretty. Very pretty. Just like the cute little girls you see in commercials for Barbie dolls, preteen jewelry, and puppy chow. She gave a tentative smile and looked even cuter. Emily was also staring at her handiwork. Alex was even prettier than she imagined. There was no way anyone would think of him as anything but a very lovely 8 to 9-year-old girl. Oh, what a cute smile, she thought as Alex tentatively tested the reflection in the mirror. Alex really should have been a girl, no boy has right to be that pretty. Well, little sister, stand up and show big sister how you look. Alex carefully rose. As he did, the weight of the dress forced the petticoats against his legs, and as he moved they swished together. The effect on Alex was quietly electric. He could feel the pressure of the pigtails, the tickle of the ribbons against his ears, and the continued caress of the bodice as he breathed. The panties rubbed against his little manhood and, small though it was, it began to grow. His heart raced, his palms were sweaty, and he felt warm all over. Give me a twirl, sis, beckoned Emily. Alex looked up at Emily. She was smiling at him expectantly. Come on, how about a twirl? Alex twirled. Slowly at first, then with Emily's encouragement a little faster. The dress blossomed out and Alex felt part of his legs exposed to the air. In the next movement, Emily had grabbed him and was twirling his body around faster and faster. Look at the little princess twirl, she crooned. What a cute little princess. Alex's head was spinning. The room blurred, highlighted by Kathy's laughing and smiling face. He felt dizzy, spinning out of control, fell onto her Emily's bed. "Oh, little sister," said Emily somewhat breathlessly, "that was fun. You look so cute. Come on, your turn to do my hair. I will tell you what to do. Then we can play some games." For the next 2 hours the two sisters played together in perfect harmony. As time progressed, Alex became more confident in his new role as little sister and started to enjoy himself. The clothing felt good. The hair looked good. He particularly liked the way the pigtails tickled his ears, and he felt great. The heat in his panties maintained itself through the 2 hours. He was excited. Dressing as girl got him excited, and he liked it. From Emily's point of view, she now had another girl to do girl things with. She soon forgot thinking of Alex as her little brother. Alex was 4. These 2 hours the little sister she had always wanted, not the nasty little brother she had come to resent. Mom takes a hand. Mrs. Chisholm had been so busy with the house that she completely lost track of the time. Before she knew it was 4:30 and she would have to start thinking about preparing dinner. She also suddenly realized that it had been blissfully quiet for the last 2 hours. Making her way upstairs, she went first to Alex's room to see what he was doing. Not finding him there, she made her way down the corridor to Catherine's room. As she approached, she heard the sound of her two children in quiet conversation. Without peering in, she listens to Catherine explaining something to Alex. "You brush the hair back." "Yes, that's it. Now gather it at the top of your head. Good. Now carefully slip the elastic off your hand and wrap it around the hair. Careful, don't let it. Good. Now a couple of twists and pull the hair through. Okay, one more, and that's it. Okay, turn around so I can brush it and tie a ribbon around it." Silence followed while Mrs. Chisholm waited curiously. What are they doing? She thought. She moved to the door and peered in. Catherine was carefully securing a ribbon around the ponytail of a young girl in a pink part dress, and that young girl was her son Alex. They had not heard or seen her. Alex sat quietly at Catherine's vanity, a faraway look at his eyes. Catherine finished tying the ribbon. "There," she said, "what a pretty girl you make." Alex blushed. "Okay, little sister, stand up and show big sister your little girl." Curtsy. Alex stood, turned, grabbed the hem of his dress. "What a pretty girl he makes," thought Mrs. Chisholm. He bowed his head and bent to one knee as he curtsied for Catherine. "Very good," said Catherine. "What a good little sister you are." Alex blushed again. Mrs. Chisholm backed quietly away from the door, not sure what to think about what she had just seen. What was she to do? Should she do or say anything? Well, the children seemed happy enough. At least they weren't fighting. So best just let it go. So she did. Mrs. Chisholm said nothing, even when Alex turned up later that day in a pale yellow sundress with his hair held back by a matching pale yellow headband. Alex was bright red and obviously nervous. Catherine, however, introduced him as Tiffany, your other daughter. Mrs. Chisholm just smiled and told Tiffany what a pretty girl she was. That seemed to relax Alex, and soon all three were sitting down to tea. And that's much how it went for the next 3 weeks. A couple of times each week Catherine would dress up Alex as her little sister. She treated him like a live doll. She got him into her school uniform, ballet tutu, princess costume and a variety of her other dresses, skirts and other little girl clothing. One night she even got him to wear one of her baby doll night dresses to bed. That night she also showed Alex how to braid hair and braided his into two cute little pigtails. What a shame, thought Catherine, that it is not longer. Alex had such beautiful shiny and thick hair, far too good for a boy. Catherine also noticed that her mum was paying much more attention to Alex's hair. Mrs. Chisholm insisted that if Alex wanted to keep his hair longer, he would have to tie it up in a ponytail. For a few days, Alex complied, but one morning he came downstairs for breakfast without it. His mother was furious and immediately marched him upstairs to fix it. By the time she was done, not only had she put his hair into a ponytail, but she had also used hair clips to keep it neat and added one of Catherine's scrunchies to make it look nice. Alex felt embarrassed, as his mother had made his hair look more feminine, but he didn't say anything. From then on, he made sure to do his hair himself, unless he was dressing up with Catherine. One morning Mrs. Chisholm announced that she was taking Alex to get his hair done. About time, thought Alex, as by this time it was well and truly down to his shoulders. I have laid out you clothes on the bed, get dressed quickly as we are due at the hairdresser at 9:00. Alex went upstairs. On his bed were a pair of white shorts, had not seen those before, a pale blue top with a collar and no arms, also new, and a pair of blue sandals with pale green flowers on them. There was also a pair of white briefs. Alex quickly took off his pajamas and slipped on the briefs. The material was soft like Catherine's panties. He slipped on the shorts. They were tight at the front and pressed against his little manhood. The blue top only just reached the shorts. Next he pulled his hair back in a ponytail and secured it with an elastic. He then slipped on the sandals, not sure about the flowers, and went down stairs. His mother gave him a disapproving look. Do I have to dress you myself? She said. She came over to Alex and undid his shorts, pulling them down to his knees. Thank goodness, thought Alex, that Catherine was not here to see this. She was at a sleepover at her friend Joanna's place. Mrs. Chisholm then grabbed his little manhood and put it between his legs. Then she pulled up the shorts. Alex was a bit surprised, but had to admit that this felt much more comfortable. As we are going to the hairdresser today, you can leave your hair out, said Mrs. Chisholm. She undid his ponytail and proceeded to brush out his hair. However, unlike his usual style that was brushed to the side, she ensured it was parted down the middle and brushed behind his ears. Need to keep it out of you eyes, she added. Let me look. Yes, you look perfect. Let's go. As they drove to the hairdresser, Mrs. Chisholm kept looking at Alex. Just push your hair back, sweetheart. Yes, behind the ears. That's a good GI, boy. Finally they arrived. You sit here, Alex, and I will check on our appointment, said Mrs. Chisholm. Alex sat in the chair while his mother went to see the lady at the counter. This was different, thought Alex. Usually it was down to the local barber. This was much fancier and smelt much nicer. Mrs. Chisholm approached the counter. I am here for the hair appointment for my daughter Tiffany. She is sitting over there with the white shorts and pale blue top. Oh yes, said the lady, I see her. What a pretty daughter you have. Thank you, said Mrs. Chisholm. The stylist is ready. How does your daughter want her hair done? Oh, my daughter is very shy. I will show the stylist what she needs. And if the stylist has any questions, I will answer them. My daughter gets very embarrassed if anyone talks to her. Certainly, Mrs. Chisholm. Why don't you talk to the stylist? She is the one over at the third chair. Hello, I am Caroline Chisholm. My daughter has an appointment with you at 9:00. She is the one sitting over there in the white shorts and blue top. Hi, I am Kimberly. If you want, we can get started straight away. Before we do, can I please show you what I was after? My daughter has neglected her hair for a while, and I want to ensure she gets a good cut, responded Mrs. Chisholm. Certainly, what did you have in mind? Well, I have some magazines here. I was thinking something like this. Something that will hold its shape as it grows. Also, anything you can do to encourage the hair's growth would be great. There is a new product on the market. We wash the hair, then apply this to the wet hair. Takes about 45 minutes to 1 hour to work. Causes the hair to expand in length and volume. Sounds perfect. It is an excellent product and will also give us more options in the cut. Exactly what I was looking for. Here's the picture. Mrs. Chisholm showed Kimberly a photo of a girl with brown hair similar to her daughter's. Yes, that would look great on her, Kimberly agreed. It'll also look nice pulled back or up, and you can either curl the ends under or flip them out. That's what I was thinking too, Mrs. Chisholm responded. The two women continued discussing the new hairstyle for another 5 minutes. Alex sat quietly, observing his mother. What were they talking about? Why was it taking so long? And why were they looking through that magazine? Mrs. Chisholm turned to her son and gave him a stern look. I'm going to have the stylist cut your hair differently, and I don't want any objections from you. Got it? Yes, Mom, Alex replied obediently. Not a word, Mrs. Chisholm instructed. First, they'll wash your hair, then apply some vitamins. After that, you'll be left alone for about 45 minutes. Once that's done, they'll rinse your hair and get it ready for cutting. Any questions? Good, let's get started. Alex followed his mother over to the stylist. Hi, I'm Kimberly, and I'll be doing your hair today. Your mom mentioned you don't like to talk much, so just relax and enjoy. Kimberly smiled at him, and her friendly demeanor made Alex feel a little more at ease. Okay, I'm leaving now, sweetie, Mrs. Chisholm said. I'll see you in a couple of hours. Okay, Alex answered quietly. Kimberly washed his hair and applied the vitamins, then wrapped his hair in a towel, letting the treatment work its magic. Here are some magazines to pass the time, she said, handing him copies of Dolly and American Girl. Not exactly what Alex preferred, but he flipped through them anyway. As he looked at the young girls in the magazine, he thought about the dress-up sessions with Catherine. They were always fun. He liked the way she treated him like her little sister. Even Mom seemed nicer when he was dressed up. Girls sure were funny, he thought. An hour later, Kimberly returned. I thought I'd give it the full hour, just to be sure, she said. Alex smiled but didn't respond. Kimberly rinsed his hair, and it felt different. As she brushed it out, he noticed it hung past his shoulders. Kimberly worked steadily on his hair, cutting, clipping, combing, and shaping. Alex noticed that, unlike previous haircuts, she wasn't cutting much length off. In fact, his hair seemed a little longer, but following his mother's instructions, he said nothing. He simply sat there while Kimberly did her work. After about 30 minutes, Kimberly stopped and stepped back to assess her work. From her perspective, the cut had gone well. Tiffany had been cooperative, and now it was time for the blow-dry and styling. Kimberly grabbed a round brush and began drying Alex's hair. Alex watched as she curled individual sections around the brush, slowly releasing them as they dried. Kimberly smiled at him, and he returned a shy smile. He watched in awe as his hair transformed. By the time she finished, his hair was styled to frame his face, with a part down the middle, bangs at the front, and more volume than before. Surprisingly, the ends were curled under, and his hair still reached his shoulders. Kimberly turned off the blow-dryer and took one final look. Alex really did look great, and the new style suited him perfectly. She picked up the brush again, making a few finishing touches before gently tucking the hair behind his ears. "You can wear it either way," she said with a smile. She brought it out again, carefully arranging his hair to frame Alex's face once more. "Both styles look great on you. You have such lovely features." Alex stared at his reflection. He couldn't believe how much more feminine he looked, this time, without one of Catherine's dresses. "Why don't you go wait for your mom over there by the seats? Feel free to take the magazines with you." Mrs. Chisholm was running late. She had stopped to pick up a gift for Alex, and it had taken longer than expected. Her lunch with her friend Melanie Watson had been more interesting than anticipated, and her mind was buzzing with new possibilities as she entered the salon. She looked around for Alex. He was sitting patiently in the reception area, flipping through a magazine. When he noticed her, he looked up and gave a tentative smile. Mrs. Chisholm paused, almost taken aback. Alex had always had a certain effeminate quality, but this new hairstyle made him appear far more like a little girl than the boy who had entered the salon. Before her was a very pretty 9-year-old girl. His dark hair framed his face, giving his features an angelic quality. Mrs. Chisholm couldn't help but smile inwardly. This was a boy who would come to appreciate his feminine side and the natural superiority of women. She greeted Alex warmly. "Sweetheart, your hair looks wonderful. It suits you so well. You like it, don't you? I'm sure Catherine will be impressed." Alex looked at his mother, unsure of how to respond. His hair felt great, very great, but he was worried it looked too girly. While that was fine for dress-up time with Catherine, he wasn't sure how he felt about looking like this all the time. "Well," his mother pressed. "I've spent a lot of money getting you to look more presentable, and you're saying nothing?" "Thanks, Mom," Alex said. "It looks great, but isn't it a little, well, I mean..." "Alex, if you have something to say, just say it. If you don't like it, we can always spend more time and money to fix it," Mrs. Chisholm replied, a little more bluntly. Alex remained quiet. His mother looked at him. "No," Alex said finally. "I like it, it's just that." "Good. I'm glad you like it," Mrs. Chisholm said, cutting off any further discussion. "Now, Alex, because you've been so good at home, getting along with your sister and stopping those silly boy behaviors, I've got a present for you." Alex's eyes lit up. He loved receiving presents. Mrs. Chisholm handed him a small box. Not a very big action figure, he thought. Maybe it was some kind of new electronic game. He politely opened it. Inside was a silver chain with a heart-shaped locket. Not exactly what he expected. "Turn it over and read the back, sweetheart," his mother said. Alex obeyed. The inscription read, "To someone special, love, Mom." "Well," his mother asked, more as a statement than a question. "You like it, don't you?" Alex looked at her, saw the expression on her face, and quickly replied, "I love it, Mom. Thank you for getting it for me. Come on, sweetheart, let's put it on and head home. I have some other things for you in the car." Alex handed the locket to his mother, who undid the clasp and draped it around his neck. "Please hold your hair up so I can fasten the clasp." Alex did as his mother asked, lifting his hair to one side and tilting his head. Mrs. Chisholm clasped the locket and, as Alex let his hair fall back down, she turned him around and gently arranged his hair behind his ears. "This will keep it out of your eyes, just until we get home." Catherine was frustrated and restless. Where were Mom and Alex? They had left hours ago. She had always known Alex would eventually need to get his hair cut, but couldn't her mother have waited until the summer break was over? Dressing up her little brother wouldn't be half as much fun without the chance to style his hair in all sorts of girly ways. Maybe she could get him a wig, no, a couple of wigs. That was a great idea. She'd need to talk to Mom about it. As Catherine considered the possibilities of dressing up Alex with wigs, she heard her mother's car pulling into the driveway. At least they were finally back. The kitchen door opened, and she heard her mother's voice. "Don't forget the packages. I didn't spend good money just to leave them in the car." "Hi, sweetie," Mrs. Chisholm greeted as she entered the room. "Oh, hi, Mom. Did Alex get his hair cut?" Catherine asked, hoping for a negative answer. "Yes, I had his hair styled in a way that's more appropriate," Mrs. Chisholm replied, a small smile on her face. Catherine raised an eyebrow, confused by her mother's response. Mrs. Chisholm met her gaze with a knowing smile. "I think you'll like the results," she added. "Oh, Alex, darling, come in here and show your sister your new hair." Hair? Catherine thought, feeling a little uneasy. She sat still, waiting for Alex to come through the door. It didn't take long. Alex walked in, his new hair carefully tucked behind his ears. Catherine gasped, then looked at her mother. "Mom, it looks wonderful," she exclaimed. Alex's hair was curled under at his shoulders, parted down the middle with bangs gently brushing his forehead. He looked absolutely adorable in a short blue top, white floral print shorts, and flowered sandals. Was that a locket around his neck? Even without a dress, he looked like a beautiful little girl. Catherine couldn't tear her eyes away from him. She glanced at her mother, whose face was unreadable, but her smile said everything. "Alex, you look great. I love your hair, it's so you," she said warmly to her brother. Her mind raced. "Is that a locket? Come on, show me." Alex approached his sister and leaned over to show her the locket his mom had given him. As he did, some hair slipped from behind his ear, and he automatically brushed it back into place. He looks like such a girl, Catherine thought. What has Mom done? His hair's longer and more feminine than before. This definitely calls for a celebratory dress-up session. "Come on, Alex, let's play." "Yes, darling, go play with your sister while I get lunch. And remember, do as your sister tells you." Alex obediently followed his sister upstairs. Mrs. Chisholm smiled to herself, eager to see the results of Catherine and Alex's play. She had no doubt that Catherine would make the most of the opportunity she had given her. "Oh, little sister, do I have a treat for you?" Catherine exclaimed. "I've been thinking about this for a long time, and now feels like the perfect moment. I love your new hair." Catherine went to her wardrobe and pulled out 2 cheerleading uniforms, red and blue with white trim. She also grabbed 2 bodysuits, 2 pairs of white panties, and 2 pairs of cheerleading pantyhose. Alex looked at the clothes before him, feeling a strange excitement. He had always admired his sister in her cheerleading uniform, and now he had the chance to wear one. But a part of him hesitated. He felt as though he was being pushed deeper into the little sister role. Although he liked the clothes and the attention, he wasn't sure how far he wanted to take this. Up until now, it had only been occasional dress-up sessions with Catherine, but today, his mother had played a more active role. Alex wasn't naive. He knew the new hairstyle, certainly not a typical haircut, made him look more like a girl, and part of him liked that. But what about being a boy? He still wanted to be one. Pretending was one thing, but this felt different. With the new hairstyle, his reality seemed to be shifting, in ways he wasn't sure he was ready for. But Catherine paid no mind to Alex's inner turmoil. She had her doll, a pretty, girly doll, and now it was time to play dress-up. "Come on, sleepyhead. Get dressed, bodysuit first, stockings, panties, then cheerleader dress and top. And hurry up." Alex dressed quickly, finishing before Catherine had even gotten into her own uniform. As he put on the cheerleading outfit, he felt the boy inside him slipping away. By the time he was finished, he felt completely transformed into a girl. "Okay, little sister, you know the drill, time for the vanity." Alex sat obediently at the vanity, and Catherine began working on his hair. She couldn't help but notice how much thicker and softer it felt. His hair had at least an extra inch or two of length, and it was styled for girly fun. As any good cheerleader would, Catherine gathered all the hair at the back of his head near the crown and secured it with an elastic. She brushed it out and curled the ends under, pinning them in place with hairpins and tying them off with a white ribbon. Very cute. She tamed the stray hairs with red, blue, and white clips, brushed the bangs, and added a touch of silver sparkle spray. Finally, she applied some light makeup, including a touch of shimmer on the eyes and red lipstick. "Pucker up, little sis." Catherine grinned. She stepped back and admired her work. Alex looked adorable. Then, Catherine styled her own hair in a similar fashion and turned to Alex. "Okay, Tiffany, you've seen me do some of the moves, so come on over here, time to join the squad." Alex followed her. "Just do what I do, and try to keep up." Catherine moved left, then right, hands up, hands spread wide, right knee up, left knee up, and so on. Alex followed without hesitation. Once transformed, he lost himself in the girl he had become and was happy to do whatever Catherine wanted. The outfit felt good, and he could feel the heat stirring in his panties, pressing against the fabric. The more he moved, the better it felt. He wanted to reach down and touch himself, but he knew Catherine wouldn't approve, so he focused on the feeling and listened to her instructions. Alex quickly picked up the routine. He had a natural rhythm, which surprised Catherine. Who would have thought her dorky little brother would make such a good cheerleader? Despite the dreamy look on his face, he was following along perfectly. Catherine introduced the music. Alex caught the beat almost immediately, and she began challenging him more. "Step forward, step back, okay, high kick, very good, sis. Now, once more." Next she introduced pom-poms, and the two sisters were soon getting into full swing. Mrs. Chisholm heard the music start up. More ballet, she thought? Maybe. Alex was in Catherine's dance outfit? Well, whatever, she was sure. Tiffany would be just the perfect little daughter. After about an hour, Catherine called a halt. Once Catherine saw Alex with his new hairstyle she knew her mother liked having Tiffany around as much as she did, so it was only fair her mother should get to see all Tiffany, her other daughter, could be. "Okay, little sister, I think we are ready to show Mum our moves." "What do you think?" What could he think? What did it matter? His mother had already seen him dressed up, so the two girls picked up their pom-poms and went down stairs. "Hey Mum, do you want to see what Tiffany and I have to show you?" yelled Catherine. "Come into the family room." When Mrs. Chisholm entered the family room, the two girls were standing side by side, pom-poms in each hand and hands on hips, legs apart. Except for the hair color and slight difference in height, they looked identical. "Oh girls, you look great. What have you got to show me?" Catherine went over to the DVD. The music blared. She returned to Tiffany. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. The girls began their routine. They jumped and kicked and danced in almost perfect harmony. Mrs. Chisholm was very impressed with how quickly Tiffany had picked up the steps, and she parked this thought for later reference. As the girls progressed through their routine, a camera flashed. Tiffany was startled and missed a step. "Don't stop, darling, I just wanted to get few pictures, that's all." One of Mrs. Chisholm's purchases that day had been a digital camera for the very purpose of capturing the progress of her new daughter. Tiffany's cheerleader had exceeded her expectations. She snapped away happily and even managed 60 seconds of film. Tiffany, however, was less pleased with her activities being captured on film, digital or otherwise. This was all getting out of control. She finished the routine to applause from Mom and shrieks from Catherine. That was great, girls, said Mum. Mum? Yes, Tiffany. Why are you taking pictures? Memories, Tiffany. Memories of my two pretty daughters together. She looked at Alex. He was turning pale. Time to reassure. Oh, don't be worried, silly. No one will see these but Catherine and I. Well, no one you will know about, she thought to herself. She smiled at Alex. Don't be such a silly girl. She came over and gave him a big hug. Right on cue, Catherine added, Yes, Tiff, this is just between you, Mum. And me, no one else will know. Well, except Joanne and Sarah when I tell them the news on the phone. Tonight, thought Catherine. Okay, as long as it is just us. Of course, said Mrs. Chisholm and Catherine together. Just us. After lunch, the girls stayed in their cheerleader outfits and played together till around 6:00. Showers, yelled Mrs. Chisholm. The two children dutifully went up to have showers. Alex somewhat reluctantly shed his girl clothes, unpinned his hair and prepared to get into the shower. Put a shower cap on, Alex, I do not want you getting your hair wet, and please brush it before you put the cap on. I paid a lot for that hair. And her voice trailed in the distance. Alex looked into the bathroom mirror. The pretty girl stared back. He brushed his hair as he had seen Catherine do many times before. Leaning forward, he brushed it up and over his head. Then with a flick of the head it fell back onto his shoulders. He then leaned to each side and brushed the hair till it shone. It felt good. He did like his long hair. And he had to agree that he did look pretty. He then wound the hair up in a bunch at the back. Secure it with a hair claw and cover it with a shower cap. As the warm water flowed over his young body, he reflected on the events of the day. Part of it excited him and he felt the stirrings. Unfettered by clothes and company, he let his hands wander. Gently stroking himself, he soon came in little gasps. His first, albeit premature, excitement. It felt good. The clothes had made him feel good. Was there something wrong with him? He sighed and continued to let the water run over him. Hurry up, Alex, and get out of the shower. I have something to show you. We'll be in your bedroom, called his mother. Alex left the shower, dried himself and went to his bedroom. His mother was there and on the bed was a package. It is for you, Alex, open it. 2 presents in one day, this was very unusual. Alex opened the package. Inside was a baby doll nightie. The top was a soft, silky fabric, sleeveless, light blue and patterned with tiny white flowers. The panties were French cut, also light blue with the same pattern. Well, do you like them? Come on, try them on, insisted his mother. Alex followed his mother's instructions. The fabric felt soft against his skin, and despite his earlier experience in the shower, he felt a familiar sense of excitement returning. Let me see, sweetheart, his mother said with a smile. Oh, you look adorable. Come into the bathroom, and I'll fix your hair. Alex walked into the bathroom with his mother, who gently brushed his hair back and tied it near the top of his head. She then secured it with a pale blue ribbon and carefully curled the ends under, just like at the salon. They're all done. Let's join your sister downstairs for a movie. I also got her a new baby doll. Catherine was not really surprised when Alex turned up in his own baby doll. She greeted him warmly, and within half an hour all 3 girls were sitting around enjoying the hot chick. Catherine noted how the little brother in that movie also liked to dress in his sister's Clothes. During the movie, Catherine took the opportunity to braid Alex's hair. Alex returned the favor and also got to braid his mother's. Mrs. Chisholm took more memories, and by 10:30 p.m. it was time for bed. "Did you have a good day, sweetheart?" said Mrs. Chisholm to her girlie. "Son, you really are Mummy's precious darling." Alex smiled at his mother and gave her a big hug. Mrs. Chisholm held Alex close, brushed the hair from his eyes and kissed him good night. Half an hour later she took more photos of her peacefully sleeping daughter. That night Mrs. Palmer reflected on the past 4 weeks. When she first saw Alex dressed as a girl, she had passed it off as a bit of childish fun, but as the weeks progressed, and Alex's dress-up episodes became more regular, she was not so sure. Despite her uncertainty, she also found her attitude to Alex change. She had always loved him, but she found his weak and whiny nature annoying. Like all men in her life, he disappointed her. As a girl, however, Alex was much more agreeable and far less pathetic. She felt more comfortable around him. Most importantly, she felt more affection towards him. Before this, her feelings for her son had been somewhat forced. He reminded her too much of his father. Now she looked forward to the time spent with her other daughter. Then came the meeting with Rosemary, her close friend from college. Like many women in college, Caroline had experimented with a lesbo relationship. The appropriateness of the abbreviation always made her laugh, and Rosemary had been her experiment. The physical relationship had lasted only 9 months, but the love and friendship had endured. All through college they remained close, and, even though both returned to more conventional partners, a bond remained between them. After college, they stayed in touch, and somewhat ironically, Rosemary had been a bridesmaid at Caroline's wedding. However, Caroline's husband Jeff had never liked her, likely because Rosemary saw right through him, though she never voiced her opinions to Caroline. Jeff's distaste for Rosemary eventually caused their relationship to fade, and soon, the only contact they had was through annual Christmas cards. Rosemary had been married briefly about 6 years ago, but the marriage was doomed from the start. It lasted just long enough for Rosemary to get pregnant. For months after their split, Jeremy was born. Caroline had never met him in person but had seen photos. Jeremy took after his mother, with fair skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. 4 weeks ago, the phone call came. Rosemary called to say she was moving back home and desperately wanted to catch up with Caroline. 2 days later, they met for lunch. As Caroline sat down with Rosemary, all the familiar feelings came rushing back. "How are you, Caroline?" Rosemary asked. "Good, very good, in fact." "How about you?" "Excellent. I have a job with the law firm of Bryan and Bryan, and I'll start on Monday as their head tax attorney." "Congratulations. I always knew you were going to be successful." The conversation flowed easily between them, and before long, they were talking about their children. Caroline spoke enthusiastically about Emily, and when it came to Alex, she mentioned his limitations but noted that he seemed to be improving. "Why do you think that is?" Rosemary asked. Caroline hesitated, unsure of what to say. She couldn't reveal Alex's girly side. What would Rosemary think? So, she played it safe. "Just getting older, I guess." "And how about Jeremy?" Rosemary's face brightened. "He's wonderful, everything a mother could want in a son and more." "Would you like to see some photos?" "Oh, yes, that would be great." Rosemary pulled a packet of photos from her bag and handed them to Caroline. The pictures were of a 7-year-old boy with blonde hair, a small oval face, clear skin, a fair complexion, and the most beautiful blue eyes. There was no mistaking that he was his mother's son. "Oh, Rosemary, he's beautiful. You must be so proud. He really is the spitting image of you, even if he's a mini-male version." I am, and he is my life. Rosemary hesitated. Caroline, we were once very, very close. Caroline blushed slightly at the subtle reference to their past. But more than that, we were our friends. Close friends. I'm so sorry we lost contact. I should never have let that happen. I was just as much to blame. After Jeff left, I should have reached out to you. Water under the bridge. I'm just glad to see you again. Rosemary stopped and took a deep breath. Caroline, I want to tell you something, but I'm not sure how you'll react. Rosemary, what is it? You have me intrigued. It's about Jeremy. He's wonderful now, but he wasn't always that way. To be honest, he was a real handful until about 18 months ago. I knew I had to do something. I was going crazy. Anyway, I found this group online, and well, they helped him, become, well, better. That's great. So, what is it you want to tell me? Rosemary reached into her purse and pulled out a small book. Maybe it would be better if I just showed you. Caroline took the book and noticed it was a small photo album, pink with white flowers. She looked at Rosemary, her heart starting to race, and slowly opened the first page. The pictures showed a 5- or 6-year-old girl dressed in a classic pink party dress with a sash and bow. She wore white lace socks and white Mary Janes, her long blonde hair, or was it a wig, tied back with a white bow. She was holding a doll, dressed just like her. The little girl had a small oval face, clear skin, a fair complexion, and the most beautiful blue eyes. There was no doubt she was Rosemary's daughter. And then, it hit Caroline, this little girl was Jeremy. Caroline took a deep breath and lifted her gaze to meet Rosemary's eyes. Rosemary held her stare, a slight nervous tension around her mouth betraying her emotions. This picture is of Jeremy, isn't it? Caroline asked, almost redundantly. Yes, there are more, Rosemary replied quietly. Caroline turned the pages slowly, each photo revealing the same little girl dressed in various girly outfits, a ballet tutu, a snow-white costume complete with a dark wig, a sundress, Sunday best, a Christmas dress, a nightgown, and many others. The last page is a photo of Jeremy from a friend's wedding, where he was the flower girl. Isn't he adorable? Rosemary said. Caroline glanced up at Rosemary. Yes, he's adorable. He really makes a pretty little girl. Any mother would be proud to call him her daughter. Rosemary visibly relaxed at Caroline's words. So, you don't disapprove? She asked. I really wanted to tell you, but I was worried you'd think it strange that I wanted to dress my son as a girl. It's just that I always wanted a daughter, and when he's dressed up, he's just perfect, Caroline finished for her. Yes, perfect. This past year with him has been wonderful. So, what's his girl name? Caroline inquired. Jessica, after my grandmother. Jessica N. You shouldn't have worried, Caroline said. I would have understood more than you know. When I said Alex had been better, I didn't explain why. Caroline then shared with Rosemary her recent experiences with Alex, his dress-up sessions with his sister, and how she felt so differently about him when he was dressed as a girl. It was really Emily's idea, but after hearing about Jeremy, and well, like you, I'm really starting to warm up to my new daughter. What's his girl name? Rosemary repeated Caroline's question to her. Emily named him Tiffany Jane. The two women exchanged looks, and slowly, grins spread across their faces. Laughter bubbled up between them. Mother and daughter club, Rosemary joked. Oh, Caroline, to think I was worried about telling you this. And here we are, both with such sweet, girly sons. We've got to get Jessica and Tiffany together. I'd love that, but somehow I don't think Alex would agree. He enjoys his girl time with Emily, but girl time with others outside our family? I'm not so sure. Caroline, you're his mother. From what you say, he seems to do exactly what he's told. At first, Jeremy struggled, but now, well, let's just say I have more daughter than son. But he's younger, and there's this group. Yes, the group has really helped. Let me tell you more about it. Rosemary then began to explain how she had found the group. She shared how she responded to an email in a web group about sons more like you and how a reply came back discussing women who wanted to nurture the sensitive and more feminine side of their boys. When she asked for more information, the contact described activities for mothers and sons and women with similar interests, eventually revealing that the group focused on feminizing young boys, from babies through to teenagers. At first, she said she was shocked and even considered not pursuing it further. But her curiosity got the better of her, and as she continued the correspondence, she discovered how the group's activities and support had helped calm many boys' more rambunctious tendencies. She also acknowledged that women joined the group for various reasons: discipline, the desire to dress their sons as girls, wanting daughters, and more. After several weeks of emails, Rosemary agreed to visit the group, initially without Jeremy, to see for herself what went on. From the moment she arrived, she knew this was something she wanted to be part of. There were about 20 mothers and their sons present, though Rosemary later learned there were over 50 members in total. The group met at least once a month, with a small donation required to join. The group was coordinated and run from the home of Mrs. Julia Craven, an older woman who had begun feminizing her own son after the death of her only daughter. Group meetings typically revolved around a theme, and the only rule was that all boys had to dress as girls while attending. Annual themes included Your Prettiest Party Dress, Girls' Halloween, Christmas Dress Up, Darling Dancers. Shopping Trip, this involved an external outing. Bring a Relative/Friend Day, most mothers brought real sisters or new girls and their mothers. Some fathers even came dressed as mummies for the day. Summer Fete, lots of sundresses and swimsuits. Favorite Fantasy, Bridesmaids, Schoolgirls, etc. Pajama Party Sleepover, a very popular event. Sporting girls, cheerleaders, tennis outfits, figure skaters, girls field hockey, etc. Some mothers began crossdressing their sons when they were babies, but most started later, typically when the boys were between the ages of 3 and 8. Rosemary explained that Jeremy's first outing was for the prettiest party dress theme, but it was almost 4 months after her first visit before she brought him. The group worked closely with the mothers to help prepare their girly boys, showing them how to introduce the girl inside the boy. Rosemary had started dressing Jeremy as a girl at home, initially as a bit of fun, and gradually making it a regular part of his routine. Jeremy was reluctant at first, but Rosemary made a big deal out of it, telling him how happy it made Mummy. By the time the party dress outing came around, he was used to dressing as a girl. She told him they were going to a fancy dress party, just a bit of fun. However, he resisted going out in public, and in the end, she had to make him wear the dress. He wasn't happy and cried the whole way to the meeting. But once they arrived, the other boys, all dressed in party dresses as instructed by their mothers, quickly made him feel better about his new look and complimented him on how great he looked as a girl. Within 20 minutes, the tears were gone, and he was playing with the other girls. They made it so much fun that since then, it's never been a problem. Once you get the boys past the initial introduction, it's amazing how quickly they adjust to the meetings. Dressing up and playing with other girly boys seems to make them feel so much more comfortable about their crossdressing, at least it did with Jeremy. The other mothers in the group have been fantastic. They've given me plenty of tips and ideas. Some of us would even get together for extra girl days. The boys loved it. We'd talk about how often to dress, promoting the mother-daughter bond, and even practical advice like growing and maintaining longer hair on a boy while dealing with teachers and schools who may question it. I tell you, after a while, I started getting messages from schools suggesting I should cut his hair. I told them it was none of their business, but I still had to be careful not to make the cut too girly. It was funny, but after a few months, I noticed that some other boys in Jeremy's class were also letting their hair grow longer. I wondered if their mothers were also looking for some girl time with their sons. I thought about bringing up the club, but I chickened out. I was scared of how they might react. Probably wise, Caroline responded. You never know how people will react. Right now, Jeremy's hair is shoulder length, and with the move, I'm considering trying bangs. He also loves dressing up with wigs. By now, Rosemary had shed all her nervousness and was fully embracing Caroline's clear support and interest. Finally, she asked, so, what about Alex? What's next for him? I don't know. I don't want to force him. While I haven't interfered with his girl time with Emily, it's only been a month. To actively encourage it? I'm not sure how he'd react, and introducing Tiffany to others would probably scare him off. He'd resist, though I would love to meet Jessica. Caroline, you're his mother, take charge. He clearly enjoys it, so why not encourage it more? You know you want to. Plus, I miss having the club here, so it would be nice to meet with at least one other mom who shares my interest, especially when that mom is my best friend. Rosemary faked a pout. Caroline laughed. Rosemary, you're a bad influence, that's what I love about you. I have to admit, the idea of Jessica and Tiffany getting together is appealing. But I need to think about it a little more. Well, don't think too long, there's a party dress out there with Tiffany's name on it, waiting for a public appearance, Rosemary said with a sly smile. Well, he does need a haircut, Caroline conceded. His hair is down past his shoulders. Why not get it styled? Tell him you're taking him to get a haircut and get it styled more femininely. Mothers in the club do that all the time. I did it with Jeremy. He has a couple of months before school starts again. And if it causes problems, you can always take him for a real haircut. Well, Rosemary, I took your advice, Caroline thought. And I'm glad I did. Now, what's next for Tiffany? That thought lingered in Caroline's mind as she drifted off to sleep, but it would be Emily who would ensure Tiffany took another step down her girly path. Alex lay in bed, the nightie softly draped over him. It felt nice, so soft against his skin. He felt a familiar stir and let his hand explore the sensation. Moments later, he sighed in release, but then a wave of confusion washed over him. What's happening to me? He wondered. Now his mom was actively encouraging his girl time. Until now, it had just been Emily and him. While he'd been reluctant at first, he did enjoy dressing up. But now, the hair? Thank God it was summer, and he didn't have to go to school. But how could he go outside looking like this? People would laugh and stare. What was Mom thinking? He began to cry softly into his pillow, overwhelmed by the questions. What was he supposed to do now? Why was this happening to him? Down the hallway, Emily had a completely different take on Alex's dilemma. She was on the phone. Once she heard her mother's door close, she dialed her best friend Joanna's number. A sleepy voice answered. Emily, what's up? It's late. I had just fallen asleep. Stop complaining. You've got to see this. Remember when I told you about Alex as Tiffany? Well, Mom took him to get a haircut today, and you just have to see it. Go check your email. Why? What happened? Just look at your email, Joe. Joanna grabbed her laptop and opened her email. There, in the inbox, was a message from Emily, with attachments. She clicked on the first one, and a photo appeared. The picture showed two girls in cheerleader outfits, one was Emily, and the other, no way, it couldn't be. Joanna had met Alex many times, and yet here he was. But he didn't look like this before. She stared at the photo. I can't believe it's Alex. What a cute girl he makes. And the hair, she thought. Joanna, hello. Are you there? Emily's voice broke through her thoughts. Oh my God, Emily, he looks so cute. I know, right? He's such a girl now. And the hair. I knew Mom was okay with the whole dressing up Alex thing, but when he came back from the salon, I nearly lost it. He looked adorable. Then Mom started taking pictures, and I thought, Joanna and Sarah have to see these. So, while Mom was putting her little girl to bed, I quickly downloaded them from the camera. Have you opened all of them yet? No, just the one. Let me, oh God, Emily. He could totally be on the squad. I know. Do you like his little ponytail? You should have heard him cheer. If I can, I'll send you the video Mum took. After that, he changed into a, wait for it, baby doll. Joanna shrieked. No way. You're kidding. How did he look? Are there pictures? No pictures, but we sat around watching a movie and even braided each other's hair. It's just like having a sister, not a bratty brother. Emily, this is so cool. Little girly Alex. So, what's next? I'm thinking excursion. You're kidding. I'm thinking party. It's time to introduce Tiffany to a bigger group of people. He'll never do it. No way. He's not that pathetic. Don't believe it. You know Anna's party next Friday? I bet I can get Alex there as a girl, party dress, hair, all girly, smelling nice. Oh, Emily, you are so bad. I love it, love it, love it. Got to go. Got to plan. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, Joe. Mom, yelled Emily, Alex won't let me do his hair. Don't make me come up there, Alex. Mrs. Chisholm yelled back. Let Emily finish her hair, or we'll be late for the party. He still won't let me do it, Mum. He's started crying. Mrs. Chisholm sighed and walked up the stairs to Emily's room. When she entered, she saw Emily standing next to Alex, hairbrush in hand, looking very frustrated. Alex was sitting on Emily's bed, quietly sobbing into his lap. He was dressed in one of Emily's skirts and tops. The skirt was white with pleats, ending just above his knees, and the top was pink with spaghetti straps. He wore white and pink socks and white shoes, with a locket around his neck and a charm bracelet on his wrist. The outfit was cute. He looked very cute. But his eyes were red from crying, and he had his head down, tears soaking into his lap. What's going on here, Alex? Demanded Mrs. Chisholm. Why won't you let your sister do your hair? I don't want to go to the party, sobbed Alex. People will laugh at me. No, they won't, Mrs. Chisholm said firmly. You look very pretty, and with your hair done, no one will know you're not a girl. Now, let Emily finish your hair. But why can't I go dressed as a boy? Alex asked, a pout in his voice. You know why, Mrs. Chisholm replied, her tone growing more serious. We've already been through this, the party is for girls only. I'm going, and Emily's going, so you are going too, as a girl. Now, stop this nonsense. But I don't want to go dressed as a girl, Alex whined. You've never complained about dressing as a girl before. Why should this time be any different? Mrs. Chisholm asked, raising an eyebrow. But that was different. No one else. Alex's voice trailed off. I wonder what Alex's friends would say if they saw him now, Emily, all dressed up for the party? Mrs. Chisholm interrupted, a slight smile curling at her lips. They'd probably be shocked to see what a sissy boy Alex really is, Emily replied, glancing back at her mother with a conspiratorial look. Alex stopped crying, sitting very still, his head bent low as he stared at his lap. Well, Alex is right, Mrs. Chisholm said, looking at her son. We can't go to the party with him dressed like this. Alex looked up at her. I think we should visit some of his friends instead and show off his pretty outfit, maybe Jim or Roger, or... Mom, you wouldn't. Alex exclaimed, panic in his eyes. Wouldn't I? Mrs. Chisholm replied, her tone cool. You spend more time in Emily's dresses these days than in your own clothes. I'm sure your friends would be interested to see what a little girl you really are. She gave him a look of determination, the kind Alex had learned not to argue with. "Okay, I'll go to the party," he sighed, resigned to his fate. "Good girl," Mrs. Chisholm said with satisfaction. "Now, Emily, do his hair, and I'll see you downstairs in 10 minutes. With that, Mrs. Chisholm left the room, pleased with herself. Alex was so easy to manipulate, and like all men, he needed to understand that women always got their way in the end. Emily turned to Alex, a playful smile on her face. "Come on, little sister, time to look pretty." Alex got up and moved to the vanity. Emily began by brushing his long, past-the-shoulders hair until it was smooth and shiny. She gathered some of the hair near the crown, brushed it out, and secured it with a pink elastic. Then, she let the hair fall back. Alex sighed. He actually liked having his hair done and had to admit that he liked the way he looked when it was finished. The outfit felt nice, too, he did look pretty, and the soft feeling of his panties brought a quiet warmth that spread through him. Emily finished his hairstyle with a pink ribbon and some white and pink hair clips. She took a moment to admire her work. Alex looked so cute. No one would ever guess he was a boy, not unless she told them. He really should have been a girl. "You look really pretty, little sister," Emily said with a smile. "Love you." "Love you too," Alex responded quietly. "Hurry up, girls." Mrs. Chisholm called from downstairs. "Emily, Tiffany, let's go, we're already late." "Come on, Tiffany, time to go," Emily said, giving Alex a gentle push. Alex took one last look at himself in the mirror, smiling at the little girl looking back. "Time for the party, Tiffany," he thought, then turned to follow Emily downstairs to where Mrs. Chisholm waited by the car. "Oh, you both look adorable," Mrs. Chisholm exclaimed. "See, Tiffany? I don't know what all the fuss was about. You and Emily will be the two prettiest girls at the party. Now, get in the car." Mrs. Chisholm checked the mirror, making sure the girls were settled in, and was pleased to see how carefully Alex had arranged his skirt before sitting down. The drive to the party was uneventful. Alex was lost in a haze of thoughts about femininity. Then, suddenly, they were there. As Mrs. Palmer stopped the car, Alex's fear returned. What if someone found out? What if people laughed at him? Peering out the window, he noticed other guests arriving, mothers, daughters, and boys. There were boys at the party. Alex felt his stomach twist in dread. "Mom, there are boys here. Can I please go back and change?" Alex pleaded. "Don't be silly, Alex. We don't have time." "Emily, I thought you told me this was a girls-only party." "Sorry, Mum, I must have misread the invitation," Emily said, her voice lacking conviction. "Look, there's Sarah and Joanna, I've got to go." With that, Emily dashed out of the car to join her friends. "Not fair. Not fair," Alex protested. "Please, Mummy, I can't go in like this," he begged. "Oh, do be quiet, Tiffany," Mrs. Palmer said, deliberately using his girl's name. "Just because there are some boys at the party doesn't make a difference. You're dressed for the party, we're at the party, and to the party, you will go. Remember, you are my daughter Tiffany, and not another word about it, you silly boy." With that, Mrs. Palmer got out of the car, opened the back door, and waited for Alex to follow. For the second time that day, Alex recognized the determination in his mother's eyes and dutifully stepped out of the car. As they walked toward the front door, Alex held tightly to his mother's hand. The dress rubbed against his legs, and despite his fear, that familiar warm feeling returned in his panties. His hair brushed against his ears, and the click of his shoes echoed on the flagstone path. They reached the front door. Mrs. Palmer rang the doorbell, and a graceful woman in her late 30s answered. Mrs. Harrington was stunning. Her auburn hair was swept high, and her deep green eyes were the most captivating Alex had ever seen. She wore a cool, patterned A-line skirt with a simple light green blouse. She moved with an elegant grace and spoke with a lilting melody. "Welcome to my home. I'm Elizabeth Harrington," she greeted them warmly. "I'm Caroline Palmer, and this is my youngest daughter Tiffany. My other daughter Emily is off with her friends somewhere," Mrs. Palmer explained. "Hello, Tiffany," Mrs. Harrington said. "What a beautiful outfit, and what a beautiful little girl you are. You can let go of your mummy's hand. I won't bite. Come, let's go find the other girls." "Okay," Alex responded quietly. "Just help yourself to a drink, Beth. There's champagne in the living room." "I'll get Tiffany settled," Mrs. Palmer said as she led Alex inside. "Bye, Tiffany. Now, you be a good girl," Mrs. Palmer called as she walked away. Mrs. Palmer took Alex by the hand and led him downstairs to a large family room that opened onto a beautiful lawn and garden. There were several girls, ranging in age from 7 to 10, playing in the room. "The younger children are upstairs, but these girls are about your age," Mrs. Harrington said. "Bella, can you please introduce Tiffany to the others? The boys are probably outside playing if I know them." "Okay, Mum," replied Bella, a girl of about 9 or 10. She was about the same height as Alex, with long auburn hair like her mother, although her eyes were blue, not green. She wore a light green party dress, and like Alex, her hair was held back with a simple green bow that matched her dress. She gave Alex a warm smile. "Okay, everyone, this is Tiffany. Tiffany, this is Sally, Kimberly, Fiona, Sarah, Jody, Tracy, Susan, and Christy." The girls smiled politely at Alex. "We were just putting on some music. I have one of those sing-along jukeboxes, want to try?" "Well, okay, I'll go first." With that, Bella turned on the music and began to sing into the microphone attached to the CD player. Some of the other girls began singing too, and before Alex knew it, the song was over. Then another girl took her turn, followed by another, until it was Alex's turn. "Come on, Tiffany, choose a song." "How about?" Bella suggested. Bella picked a song, and Alex took the microphone, waiting for it to begin. He recognized the song and started to sing along. The girls began to sway to the music, and soon a few of them joined in. As the song went on, Alex started to relax and enjoy himself. Before he knew it, Bella was singing along with him. They finished the song together, and Bella gave him a big hug. "That was great, girl. Let's do another," Bella said enthusiastically. "Okay," Alex responded, and they turned the CD on again. For the next hour, Alex sang songs and chatted with Bella about the music, their dresses, their favorite bands, especially boy bands, and other things that prepubescent girls love to talk about. "Have you tried makeup? If you go to, they have the best, you should get a pair." Then Billy Johnson said, and Jennifer, well, Bella was really nice, and Alex was having a great time. After the music, they played with some of Bella's dolls, dressing up Bratz and Cool Julie in all sorts of wild outfits. Mrs. Harrington came in with drinks and snacks, and then they were back up, singing and dancing again. Emily stood by the window, watching her little brother dance around the family room in his party outfit and smiled quietly to herself. On either side of her were her two friends, Sarah and Joanna. "There he is," Emily said. "The one in the white skirt and pink top with the pink ribbon in his hair. Told you I could get him to this party dressed as a girl. What a sissy boy, doesn't he look so cute?" She and her friends started laughing. "You were right, Emily," Sarah said. "I never thought you could do it, but there he is in a skirt and everything. What a pretty little girl your brother makes." They laughed again. "I can't believe he lets you dress him up like that," Joanna remarked. "My younger brother would die before I got him to put on one of my dresses." "Don't be so sure about that," Emily replied. "It really wasn't that hard. I just planted the idea, and he took the bait. Ever since, I only have to hint at dressing up, and he's there. The more we do it, the more he wants to. He makes a much better little sister than a brother." I've even talked to Mom about taking him to the mall to buy some of his own girl clothes so he doesn't have to keep borrowing mine. Mom thought it was a good idea. His hair is so long, and the cut is so girly, surely he wants it cut, Joanna added. Funny thing about that, Emily said. When I started dressing up Alex, his hair was just above his shoulders, and he was due for a haircut. You know what happened when Mum took him to get it cut? He came back with it styled the way it is now. I know Mum enjoys seeing Alex as a girl as much as I do, and Alex hasn't asked to have it cut again. Oh, I wish I could get my little brother Shane to dress up for me, Joanna sighed. He'd make such a cute girl. Then we could get together and play with each other's little sisters. But that's never going to happen. Oh, I don't know about that, Emily said with a grin. I think in most little boys, there's a little girl waiting to come out, you just have to find the right door. Tell me more about Shane. More fool me, thought Mrs. Palmer. Rosemary knew what a disaster he was. But the thought trailed off. Regrets? She had a few, but why dredge them up in a pointless replay of why was I so stupid? Thanks for watching. If you liked this story, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Also, consider becoming a member for exclusive stories and early access.